Pantheon AI presents Trump's 51st state, Canada. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today, we've got a truly wild story that's been making headlines, especially up north. We're talking about Canada potentially becoming the 51st U.S. state. Can you believe it?
I know, right? It sounds like something straight out of a political satire, but it actually came from a pretty significant source. President Trump himself, back on May 27, 2025, floated this idea on his Truth Social account.
Yeah, and it wasn't just a casual thought. He proposed that Canada could join the U.S.'s Golden Dome missile defense system. And here's the kicker. It would be at no cost. If they agreed to become the 51st state.
That's a pretty big if, don't you think? Otherwise, if they wanted to stay independent but still participate, they'd have to shell out a whopping $61 billion. Talk about a conditional offer.
Absolutely. And for those wondering, the Golden Dome system is designed to protect against some serious threats. Advanced missile threats, including hypersonic and intercontinental ballistic missiles. Sounds pretty high-tech.
It does, but experts are actually pretty skeptical about its feasibility, and especially the costs. We're talking projections of up to $542 billion over 20 years. That's a staggering amount, even for a defense system.
Wow. So, what was Canada's take on this? Shall we say, generous offer? I can't imagine they were too thrilled about giving up their sovereignty.
You're spot on. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's office firmly rejected the notion. They basically said thanks but no thanks, we're an independent country. Carney even highlighted their own defense initiatives, like a $4.2 billion radar system partnership with Australia for Arctic security. So they're clearly committed to their own path.
Good for them for standing their ground. And speaking of standing their ground, there was also a really interesting, almost symbolic moment that same day, May 27, 2025. King Charles III visited Canada and addressed its parliament.
Oh, right. That was a huge deal. Without directly naming Trump, the king really underscored Canada's right to self-determination. He highlighted the nation's strength as a confident and independent country. It was a powerful message.
It really was. And it marked the first time a British monarch had opened the Canadian Parliament in nearly 70 years. So, it wasn't just a casual visit. It was a clear reinforcement of Canadian sovereignty amidst all this tension.
Exactly. So, with all this back and forth, you have to wonder what the Canadian public thinks about all of this. Is there any real appetite for becoming the 51st state?
Well, the numbers speak for themselves. A Leger poll from March 2025 showed that a massive 85% of Canadians are against joining the United States. Only 9% were in favor. Even in Alberta, where support was highest, it was still only 15%.
Those are pretty decisive numbers. So it seems like, despite the grand proposal, both the Canadian leadership and the public are firmly opposed to any such move. They're really emphasizing their commitment to maintaining sovereignty and independence.
Yeah, it's a clear message. So while the idea of Canada as the 51st state might make for a catchy headline, it's pretty clear that it's not something the Canadians are interested in. It's more of a clash of wills, really, than a realistic possibility.
Definitely. It just goes to show that some things, like national sovereignty, are truly non-negotiable for a country.
Couldn't agree more. And that wraps up our look at the, quote, 51st state debate. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Pantheon AI, your information co-pilot.
Because learning shouldn't feel like a full-time job. Take care and see you next time.